Well, you know, the Democracy Fund is close to my heart. That's a civil liberties charity that we help pump up to fight the massive battle during the pandemic. But I'll tell you a little secret. We modeled the Democracy Fund after the granddaddy of all civil liberties groups in Canada, the Justice Centre for Constitutional Freedom. They have been at it for more than 10 years. And you know that because we've been talking to them ever since Rebel News was born. We've probably interviewed their various lawyers. I'm not even exaggerating when I say 100 times. And the reason is they are defending people who the rest of the so-called civil liberties movement ignore. It is my observation that the, quote, traditional civil liberties groups in Canada, like the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, they don't actually support freedom of speech for people who are conservative or Christian. Just for a few examples, the Canadian Civil Liberties Association hit the snooze button during the entire pandemic when we had a civil liberties bonfire. That was some of the gap that the Democracy Fund was set up to meet, and that is what the Justice Centre has been doing since I was knee-high to a tadpole. And joining us now to talk about three very important cases that the JCCF is doing is our friend John Carpay, the boss and founder of the JCCF. Great to see you again. I don't think you get the proper kudos because you have been in the trenches every single day. And some of the cases are, quote, glamorous, but some of them are not at all. But you're always there, John. So on behalf of our viewers, thank you.
Well, so glad to be with you again and chatting about some of the current violations of charter rights and freedoms. It seems like the things might get worse before they get better in Canada. That's the way it's looking.
Yeah, I'm afraid you're right. There's always some news. I look forward to the days when there will be no more civil liberties news. Alas, mankind is flawed and we're all sinners. And I think that we will never be done this fight. I want to talk about three different cases with you, John, because you guys are doing some really good work. I want to talk about this Nova Scotia and frankly, other provinces, New Brunswick, et cetera, have done atrocious civil liberties violations in the name of stopping the fire. They've really brought in climate lockdowns. I want to talk about that for a minute. I want to talk about our friend Amy Ham. That's the nurse in British Columbia who was fired as a nurse by her professional association because she dared to put up a billboard praising J.K. Rowling's views on transgenderism. And finally, I want to talk about a trucker named Evan Blackman who was acquitted, but the Crown is so vindictive, they're retrying him. Three things. Let's deal with each of them in 5 minutes. John, first one, Jeff Evely. He's a military veteran. I interviewed him about a week ago. He loves walking in the forest with his dog. He got a $28,000 fine. He's a client of JCCF. Tell me a little bit about what you're going to do for Jeff. And I understand you might have a bigger project afoot. Go ahead.
Well, Jeff's very courageous to have exercised his liberty to walk in the forest in the face of a completely irrational ban. This is like seeking to punish people. It's not connected to stopping fires. You or I or anybody else walking through the forest it's not rationally connected to preventing forest fires. If a province passes a law, no campfires or no smoking in the woods, no cooking in the woods, okay, fine. Those are reasonable laws that are connected to the goal. So we are providing lawyers to help Jeff, for Jeff Evely, so he can fight against this prosecution. And the defense in court is not going to be pretending he didn't go into the woods. The defense will be that the law itself is an unjustified violation of our Charter Section 7 right to liberty. But in addition to that, see, that prosecution might take, or it will take months or even years, right? These things they take a long time. This prohibition on walking in the woods is in force from August 5th to October 15th. We want to see what we can do to get that ban lifted so that the good people in Nova Scotia can enjoy walking in the woods and going fishing and hiking and camping and so on and so forth, before October 15th. So we're also going to file a court application for judicial review, seeking a court order to strike down this policy as an unjustified and unreasonable violation of liberty. So we're doing that proactively, in addition to helping Jeff to fight this $28,872 ticket.
Yeah, that's astonishing. You know, you used a phrase earlier that rang a bell from my days in law school. It was rationally connected because under our Charter of Rights, which is sort of a watered down version of the U.S. Bill of Rights, the government is explicitly allowed to violate our rights if it's demonstrably justifiable. And the Supreme Court came up with a three-pronged test. And is it a minimal impairment? That is, are they violating our rights the least amount necessary to do the job? Is it a pressing and substantial problem? Now, wildfires are a pressing and substantial problem, okay. And then finally, is there infringement on our liberty? Is it rationally connected to the problem? And I think you're right to say that's where they're most likely to fail. Walking in the forest does not start fires. Smoking might, cooking might, arson would. So this reminds me so much of the pandemic when you had irrational moves that were scientifically invalid, but it made lawmakers feel good. Minimal impairment. You're not allowed to walk at all in the forest, even on your private land. I think you got a winner here, John, but judges might be caught up in the mania, the wildfire mania, just like they were caught up 5 years ago in the COVID mania.
Well, fortunately, the judges in Nova Scotia are not getting bombarded every hour of every day of every week with this message about extreme fire hazard and we're all in this together and we all have to give up our rights to walk in the woods in order to stop the fire. Judges are not getting this media propaganda on a daily basis or an hourly basis, whereas with COVID, the judges were, getting this message just pounded into their heads 24 hours a day. And sadly, as I've outlined in my book, Corrupted by Fear, we've seen judges that actually wrote the media narrative into their court rulings without there being evidence to support that narrative. So I think we're in far better shape in Nova Scotia because whichever judge hears it is not going to be in a state of fear with hourly propaganda about the dangers of forest fires and how a ban on walking in the woods is going to save us all from these deadly forest fires. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a lot easier for the judge to look at this rationally. One more really important point is the government also has to demonstrate that the law is doing more good than harm.
Right.
And so the government's didn't even bother with the COVID lockdowns to look at the harms. Right. But here, walking in the woods brings a lot of physical, mental, spiritual benefits to people.
It's like when they shut down the gyms and when they shut down the outdoor parks. Remember they drew those stupid circles in the parks and told people they couldn't go to the park outside, which was the healthiest place? Oh, I'm getting so many terrible flashbacks.